Welcome back, everyone, to Common Sense Choices, and I'm Linda Toupin. Wow, today is episode 16. We have been on a 3-month journey, you and I together, on what does it truly take to run a successful in-home business or just to work from home? Because we know during COVID, lots of people came home to work, and it's not as easy as it may appear on the surface. And so we've had a wonderful series of episodes. And so if you've just happened in here and you've stumbled in here, and today is the first day that you have been introduced to the podcast, then afterwards, head on over and pick up all the other episodes. They start at episode number 9. And today we will be starting the finish line of this. We actually have one more episode that'll finish out April. And it's going to be a very special one because you're going to get to meet 2 people who have worked with me for over 40 years. And they've worked beside me in my office in my in-home business. And we're going to pull it all together, and you're going to hear from them the habits that they saw that help create success. And so it'll be fun. It'll be a great way to end this episode. Well, our podcast, Common Sense Choices, has been it's blown me away, you guys. This was just like a whim. Like, I think I might like to do this and see what happens, but I haven't ran the final numbers yet, but it appears that we are getting close to 100,000 views on all the different platforms. And I just never could have even dreamed that. But it's because of you guys, because you like, you share, you comment. And when you do, then actually I enter you into a drawing for a special gift. But that's what builds the success of our podcast, is the content and it having value. It's always my prayer before it starts that something that is said here will edify you, lift you, encourage you, and help you on your journey. Now, everything in our podcast is built on the mantra that you see on my coffee cup today. And it says, I am where I am by the choices I have made or I have allowed others to make for me. So let's say that together with conviction. I am where I am by the choices I have made or I have allowed others to make for me. It's all about personal responsibility, you guys. If you want a different life, you have to make different choices. We also have it on an 8x8 canvas. Now, you guys, if you are not familiar with my little souvenir store over at LindaToupin.com, that's T as in Tom, O-U, P as in Peter, I-N, LindaToupin.com. Head on over and check it all out. And some of you have asked me, like, I want to give these as gifts, or I want to give these as incentives for my youth group, my church group, my business group, whatever. If you want a volume of them, say more than 5, then just reach out to me at my email, linda@lindatoupin.com, linda@lindatoupin.com. Everything's my name, you guys. It just makes my life simpler. And I'll be happy to give you a discount on a volume if that's your goal. Well, it's so fun to spend this time with you guys because, you know, God has gifted you 168 hours every single week. And what you do with those hours is really kind of where you end up at the end of your life. And it's all a choice. God calls that free will. It's just another name for choice. And so I think that's why it's so important, guys, that we pray about our decisions that we're going to make every day. You made a decision to click play. You made a decision to share this with a family member, a friend, or a business group. All these little insignificant choices is really what changes the direction of your life. And so thank you for making that choice of clicking play. You will make 35,000 choices today. I want you to think about that. 35,000 choices every single day. And some of them make a big difference because they do accumulate. Well, while you're over at LindaToupin.com, go ahead and sign up because it's free. And you'll get an email from me every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Now, I don't know about you, but I like it when people think about me and they think for me. So I want to think about you every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And that way you don't have to think about me because I'll just kind of come into your inbox and you'll go, oh, Linda's got a new episode. That's the easiest way. Plus, you guys, I've got lots of new stuff coming out this summer and fall, and I want you to be the first to hear about it. And if there's ever any discounts or special promotions, you're going to be the first to know about it. Well, you guys, on a personal note, I have big hair today. What do you think about big hair? You know, they're not paying me to advertise this stuff, but I don't know about you, but I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and big hair is kind of a big deal. I don't know about y'all. Now, y'all might not like it. You'll have to tell me in the comment section if you like my big hair today. But I found this hairspray. It's called Kenra, Kenra. Anyway, it works. That's what I know. They're not paying me to say that. I just found it and I thought, well, I'm going to try that today. Let's get this party started. Episode 16. OMG. I am so excited. You can look back over your career, you guys, and you can see key moments where light bulbs went off. And when you have a new thought, you take action on your new thought and you change the direction of your life, you can pinpoint it. And when I learned what this man knows, my people skills went off the chart, and I was able to transfer people skills to people I was in charge of leading. Okay. You've got to be transferable and duplicatable in your life. Whether you're a mom or a dad or a business owner or a leader, these things that you can do have to be transferable or duplicatable. And understanding what this man knows is a huge piece of that puzzle. And so I can't wait to tell you about my friend Kirby Kirkpatrick. And so let me give you his official accolades, and I'll tell you all about him later. Kirby Kirkpatrick is a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur. I have never seen that in an accolade sheet. Serial entrepreneur. He is an author and a trainer and has been self-employed since leaving his career as a secondary social studies teacher in 1998. He is a certified professional coach with over 20 years working with individuals and companies to create sustained personal and professional growth. I love this. This is what I'm about to read. It says, Kirby believes that within each of us lies greatness. Oh, amen, Kirby. God has gifted every one of us different gifts, and there is greatness in every one of us, and our gifts are very different. It may not be the same for each person, but within us all is the potential to do great things and to make a lasting impact on the world that we are leaving behind. His no-nonsense coaching, and I can attest to that, and training style helps the clients knock down obstacles created by their own limiting beliefs. In addition to being a certified master coach, he is also certified with Everything DISC workplace trainer and certified 5 behaviorals facilitator. That's a mouthful, but it'll all make sense in just a minute. He has served on the board of directors of multiple nonprofits, been honored as a member of the month in both Park County and Plainfield Chamber of Commerce, has published dozens of print articles for newspapers and business journals, and has been recognized as a Sapphire partner with Wiley Publishing, not once, not twice, but 6 times. He is the author of a book called Growing Up Pink, which is lessons learned inside the Mary Kay bubble, because his mom was in that profession, in that company for her entire career as an entrepreneur as well. So would you welcome to the screen my good friend, Kirby Kirkpatrick.
Thank you so much, Linda. I am excited to have this opportunity to share with you and your followers.
Well, so how's the weather up there today, Kirby?
It's disturbingly cold for an April day, and it's Indiana.
I like that word, disturbingly cold, because, I was going to wear something like springy today, and it was like, no, it's cold. Actually, I'm looking out the window right now, and there are snow flurries, and it's like, I don't like that. So where are y'all living?
Sunshine.
Where are y'all living?
In Rockville, Indiana, which is just about an hour west of the big city of Indianapolis. We moved out here about 6 years ago to our dream home on a farm of 8 acres. Both Paula and I, my wife, get to spend a lot of time pouring into people. So it's nice to have a little island of solitude to retreat to. And we just absolutely love being out in the country and close to where we can go for a run at the state park and get some nature and watch a beautiful sunset. There is no place, and no offense to anybody not living in Indiana, nothing can top an Indiana sunset. And we've got a beautiful view from our home.
Well, you and I were talking before we just went on live that it's like, there's a lot of people in the world who haven't figured out that places like you live and places 30 minutes from where I live, you can get 5 acres and a gorgeous home for $400,000 and have a great life. And so anyway, good for you guys. Good for you. And say hello to your beautiful wife for me. We've known each other for a very, very long time. And so we're going to kind of start at the beginning. Let's kind of go back to the very
Let's
beginning,
do
Kirby. Of course, I've known your mom for decades, and I honestly can't remember like the first time I ever met you. I just knew that you ran a lot of big events for her, and then obviously we became acquainted through the services that you offer. But this series that my audience has been watching now for the past 3 months is all about what does it take to run a successful business from home or to even work from home. And your entire life, I mean, you were how old when your mom started her own in-home business?
I was 3, believe it or not. So I really only know having a business in the home. Even when I was a teacher, I had a business in my home. So there has not been a day since I was 3 years old that there hasn't been a business line running into my home.
Okay, well then I will put you in the expert category. So if you could just talk to every person one-on-one out there who is either thinking about running a business from home, or maybe their corporate job has allowed them now to work from home, or they have already been running a business from home and they want to improve it. This is your time. Talk to us about your lessons, the things that you've seen, the things you would recommend, and the things you would advise and not advise. And I'm going to take notes. You guys, I have 2 sections in my notebooks from all these people. So get your notebooks out.
Awesome. Well, I can definitely break down running a business from home into 2 different categories: the logistical important steps that you have to take and the emotional steps. And I've kind of compiled these into one big master top 10 list that I would recommend, that if you're thinking about working from a home environment, you really, really have to invest in these, and then everything builds off of them. And the first one may sound super simple, but it is one that I find people miss dramatically, and that is a dedicated space. It doesn't have to be a office with a door on it, although that's an ideal situation. But if you live in an apartment or a small home, that may not be. But having an area where that is where you work, it can be a desk. And I've encouraged people to take masking tape and create a box around their desk. And when they step across that masking tape, they're going to work. And there's so many reasons for having that dedicated space. One, it is very easy for an at-home business to become your entire life, and you feel like you're never getting away from work. So having that dedicated space allows you literally to go to work and leave work. And emotionally, long term, avoiding burnout, setting boundaries with people, all can be tied down to, do you have a dedicated space where both you and those people around you know that's when you are at work? That's when you're not to be disturbed. I remember very early on, growing up in a home where there were business lines and phone ringing, having conversations with my parents about, if that receiver is in the hand, my mouth goes shut, because that left phone was the business phone and she's talking to somebody important. To stop at the edge of the doorway of the office and stand until I'm acknowledged, because I can't constantly go in and interrupt. And as I had young children in my own home, I repeated those lessons with them and said, okay, when dad's on the phone, you're quiet. When dad's not on the phone, you can talk to me whatever you want. Here's the edge of the office. You stop there and you wait until you're invited in. Not from a strict structure or mean standpoint, but they wanted to see and learn that's what work looks like. And believe it or not, both of my daughters now work from home, one for somebody else and one for herself. And so these generational lessons continue to get handed on. And that runs right on into number 2, boundaries. And boundaries are hugely important when you have an in-home business. Because the other thing I tell a lot of people is, any in-home business is automatically a family business. It does not matter if people are involved in your day-to-day behavior, or if you're working for somebody else and you're bringing that work at home, that becomes your family business too. So they need to know, both adults and kids, you are at work. They need to respect your schedule. I find especially extended family, they hear you're starting your own business or you're working from home, and all of a sudden they feel like you are available for coffee and a chat or lunch anytime, and they become your number one distraction to actually getting your work done. So teaching all of the people that are in your circle what your in-home business looks like to you and what your priorities are, that's the biggest part about setting boundaries. And then, as I mentioned, in my family with my children, it's never too young to teach children what your workplace looks like, and being consistent and strict that mommy or daddy, we're at work. and we will give you the attention you need, but it has to happen on our work schedule. And it may seem really harsh, and you think you're starting to work from home because you want more family time, but that structure is about the only reason you're still going to be working from home in a year instead of going back to work because you didn't get anything done, you didn't make any money, or you had to find another job because your virtual boss said you're not stacking up to what I hired you to
Well,
do.
I have to jump in here, because you're just, I know you're speaking to the choir when you're talking to me, but we've seen this where someone comes home to work their business from home, and the spouse, whether it's a man or a woman, it doesn't matter, says, why didn't you get anything done? You're home all day, but they had a 2-year-old, and my pat response was always, well, if it's not a problem, why don't you take the 2-year-old to work with you? Okay, this is this doesn't work like that. But so true, so true. And I love the term that you used a second ago, generational, because these lessons are generational. Whether the people go, your children go on to own their own business, but oftentimes, as I've seen with my other speakers, their children have gone on to be their own bosses and work from home.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Lessons just continue on. So number 3 then is structure. Have a start time, have a quitting time. And again, a lot of these, if you set them up at the beginning of your endeavor, will prevent burnout down the road. The start time is so that your brain flips to work mode. I am in whatever your role is, and you can then follow the patterns necessary to succeed. The quitting time is clearly, when that desk is sitting in the corner of the living room, or that office door is in there, or, back in the day when we would hear a landline ring at 10 o'clock at night with something to leave a message, or you're operating off your cell phone and it's always dinging and it's always going on. If you don't set a quitting time, that work just eats at you, and all the things you haven't done is what you're thinking about, even when you really, really want to give time to your family or go for a run or take a day off. You've got to be able to have a start time and a quit time. A lot of people go into business for themselves because they love freedom and flexibility, and they want to kind of have a free-spirited schedule. But the structure is actually the secret to freedom. The more structure you have in your day, and by planning your day well out, which is number 4, by planning your life out, you create the freedom that you want. Which takes us right into number 4, which is planning. I really, really encourage you have a great system for planning your month out, then your week out, and then your day out, because that structure will allow you to then respond. So many people who go into business for themselves start out in a reactive mode. They take everything that comes at them and they respond, and they don't plan their responses. And long-term success when you are running your own business is being in a proactive mode, planning what you're going to do. With a proactive mindset, you can then be flexible and handle a reactive situation. With a reactive mindset, you spend a whole lot of time in crisis. And that will burn you out, and it will cost you money because you're spending money to respond quickly. When if you'd been proactive, you could have capitalized on your resources and your profit.
Can I say amen? Or am I allowed to interject amen to all this? That whole
My
idea.
favorite word.
I grew up Southern Baptist. Amen is an affirmation, but being reactive, oh my gosh. Just unpacking that alone is an entire podcast of how people spend their entire life. I see people spend their entire life being reactive, and it costs, what did you say? It costs energy, it costs time, it costs money to be reactive.
Yes, absolutely. So those 4 are our logistical points. Those are clearly, those are skills that you can learn if you just dedicate your time to it. The next 6 fall under the emotional category. This is ability to manage yourself and how you look at things. And we're going to lead off with the biggest one, number 5, attitude. If you don't believe you're going to succeed, guess what? You will not succeed. You have to believe you are the person today that you want to be tomorrow. It's so important that you're able to visualize what does success look like for you, and then believe you have the capability to achieve that. Without that attitude, you will not succeed as an entrepreneur. There's the thing with being an entrepreneur or a self-employed person is you don't have somebody standing behind you. Good job. You're great. You did a fantastic job, especially in those hard months when you're starting. So you've got to be your biggest cheerleader. You've got to be the one that says, I am doing a good job. I am equipped. Or if I'm not equipped, I am in the process of becoming equipped. That was a great lesson from my mother. She always learned to say the phrase, I'm in the process of. She never said I'm not, but I'm in the process of becoming who I want to be. So I really challenge you to check your attitude every single day and go, I chose to do this, so therefore I'm going to be successful. Number 6, be your own boss. And when I say be your own boss, I mean be the worst boss you've ever had. The hardest, most critical, most demanding boss you ever had. You have to be that for yourself. You have to set the goals. You have to set the parameters. You have to set the structure that you're going to do to succeed. You can even be a little mean to yourself because you've got to be able to be held accountable. So you're the only person doing that. You are your boss. Which was followed up by be your best employee. You want to please that boss. You kind of become two people. I'm the boss telling me what to do, and then I'm the person actually doing it. And you've got to achieve that as though you are going to get fired if you don't do it well. So many entrepreneurs I work with, they're like, I want to be successful at this business, but I have so many distractions, or I just didn't get to that task today. And they're always making excuses as to why they didn't. And I'm like, well, if you were getting paid a salary by somebody else, would you use those same excuses? Would that work? I mean, like I said, I've got 2 daughters that are working from home. One is her own boss. The other one has a boss. The one who has a boss, she doesn't get to not start at 9 o'clock when she's supposed to start. She doesn't get to say, I don't want to work till 6 tonight when it's a 6 start off. So she has to do that. They are both successful because they're both treating their at-home jobs the same way. They've got a start time and an end time, or a task list, or a responsibility that they have to do. So be your very best employee. Number 8, live medium. Tony Dungy says this in one of his books, and I wish I looked up which book it was. I read several of them, and they kind of run together at times when you get great lessons and you're always investing on it. But he said, you've got to learn to live medium, because when you are an entrepreneur, there are going to be some wonderful highs. And there's also going to be some really, really low lows. You're going to have that month that you barely made ends meet, or maybe you borrowed from your reservoir or your capital to get there. And you've got to figure out that, if I go really, really, really high, then I'm going to crash and go really, really low. So being able to manage your emotions in kind of, oh, that's great. Now I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate my achievements, but I'm also going to not push myself too low when I have that rough month. We live in a world where we tend to put quotas or structures. The last day of the month becomes very important to us. But guess what? The month starts all fresh and new the next day, and the numbers are back to 0. And being able to emotionally kind of go, all right, this is a long journey. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And I'm going to measure how I go, will help you not burn yourself out and spend all your energy excited so that you don't have anything to pull from when it's rougher. Because unfortunately, I would love to tell you, every entrepreneur is going to start their business, and in 30 days, they're going to be on the Forbes 500 list, and there's never going to be any stress. Yeah, that's not the way it works. It looks like that. When we watch the movies or we hear somebody that sounds like they're a flash in the pan, what we don't know is the years that they put into the launch date before they even made their first dime. The average business takes, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. Finish your thought.
Okay, I was going to say the average business takes 3 years to break even, 5 years to become financially sound, and usually 8 to 10 years to repay off the investment that was made to get started. Those are the average businesses that succeed. That doesn't even count the ones that don't make it, because at 2 years and 10 months, they go, I'm not going to do it. And they quit because they didn't live medium.
Well, oh my gosh, I would like to spend our entire morning on number 8. Maybe you can come back. We did have a wonderful podcast from Robin Rowland on 10 money, just sound money in advice for people who are starting their own business. But first thing I'd like for you to do is go back through the numbers: 3 years to break even, 5 years to get sound financially. Go back through those again.
Yes, 3 years to break even. That means that you're paying all the bills for as you go. Your income's meeting your expenses. 5 years means you're, as an owner, able to draw salary consistently. 10 years to have enough capital growth that you're paying off what you invested in years 1 to 3.
Okay.
And paying your own salary and going.
Well, and then, and I shared this story on another podcast, but I think it bears repeating, which is the fact that I'll never forget a turning point conversation with my own accountant, because I was in year 5 or, in there, 5 to 7, whatever, where it was like, I keep spending money, I keep making more money, but I keep spending more money. And I felt like all my money was going to all the people I was hiring. I wasn't shopping at any designer stores. Let's just put it that way. And she said, Linda, I sit here every day in this office and I watch, because her business was small businesses, doctors, offices and other small businesses, in the community. And she said, they all have the same graph. They start out, we start out like that, which the lines are running the same way. Okay. And then she said, there's a breaking point where the income soars, but the expenses stay the same. And she said, what happens is most people quit right there. And
Gotcha.
I thought, okay, I'm going to take her at her word and I'm going to keep doing the smart things that I've been doing, even though it doesn't feel like good right now. And sure enough, it took the same amount of expense to run a company that was almost 10 times larger than it did for the other one. And so I know what you're saying is absolutely true. And then I wanted to also elaborate, Kirby, on that whole steady Eddie. You work on the first day of a month the same way you work on the 30th day of a month. And when you don't, what you're sacrificing is the support of your family, the emotional toll on your family. And what will end up happening, you will eventually crash and burn. And I always say, if you're running your business on emotion, you're broke. That's what running businesses on emotion bring is financial disaster, and then your whole family suffers emotionally from it. So like I said, I could spend all day here, but this was beautifully said by you.
Thank you. And you led me right into number 9, which is trust the process. Whether you are building your own pathway or whether you're coming into a business that has a proven track record or a model, trust the process. Once you establish what needs to be done and what can be done, you just got to almost put faith in there. You show up, you do the work, and you have to trust the process, because it may not happen on your timetable, but if you stay consistent, you will get there. So you just have to trust the process. And then number 10, grow your network. When you are an entrepreneur, especially a solo entrepreneur, the one thing that is a struggle for a lot of people is having the ability to sell and produce. Deliver the product, but go sell to the next opportunity. And that's where your network comes into play. You need to let everybody in your network know that you are in business. And I run into this a lot with people who are just starting out, especially when they are they're currently working a job and they're trying to work their way out. Let's say they're a nurse and that they've got this side hustle that they really want to do, and that's going to be their next big thing. And you ask them the question, so what do you do? And their answer is, I'm a nurse. But that's not who they want to be. They want to be XYZ profession. And so grow your network. You have to invest, and your identity is what you want it to be. Now, our identity is a child of God. Our identity is connected to our family and those things. But we all have a professional identity that we respond with first. And if it is not the business you want to build, you will not build it. I have started many businesses, and I'll tell you, I can tell you which segment of mine is going to grow, which part of my serial entrepreneur is going to grow by how I'm answering that question. When I moved from a professional meeting planner to I own an awards and marketing business, the awards and marketing business grew more than the meeting planning did. When I changed from awards and marketing to my answer to a stranger is I'm a life and business coach, my life and business coaching business grow. So your identity has to be part of you, and part of that is sharing it to everyone you know so they can become your sales force. They're the ones that become your referral network. They're the ones that you're on their mind when they meet somebody who needs your services, because that's the only way you're going to grow beyond the slow referrals of your existing customers. Everything is a multiplication factor. If you got one customer, you're only going to multiply him by one more. You've got 50 people who know what you do. That's going to give you the opportunity to go exponentially larger.
Well, oh my gosh, Kirby, this has been so amazing. Like I'm sitting here, like just reliving, of course, I started my own business 40 years ago and your memory fades. But because, 6 months ago, I took off on this new adventure, which was just kind of a whim and a hobby. And now it's like turning into like a real thing. And it's very interesting because the first thing I had to change was my identity. Okay. And my identity was I actually have a business card now that says I'm a podcaster, that I have Common Sense Choices is my identity. And it's a hope podcast. I mean, it's like, whoa. And then, when you went back to number 9, trust the process, it's like what the audience doesn't see is they only see this. What they don't see is like, the other night I was reaching out to people that I know in my life one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I know tens of thousands of people, one at a time, that said, hey, have you checked this out yet? And it would mean a lot to me if you click this link and give me your thoughts. I'm working on my content. I'm really trying to develop a product that resonates with people. I mean, like, I'm telling people that I need their opinion, because that's how I'm going to develop my product. It's consumer driven. And it's all over again. It's one at a time. And I sat there on my couch and I thought, I wonder how many people out in the world understand the 18 hours I put in today to do something that's an hour long, and just because I want to. But anyway, oh my gosh, Kirby, I wish we had an hour to spend on all 10 of these. Well, we can. They are all very, very powerful. And I have a feeling we're going to see in the comment section, oh my gosh, I've got to listen to this over and over and over again. But people can work with you. And we want to talk about that now. I especially want to talk about your work with the DISC behavioral model and what that is and how powerful that is. There's lots of behavioral personality kind of tests out there, and they're all good. They all have a place. They all serve a purpose. But when I study them all, I always come back to DISC. It's 4 things to remember. I can, within 15 seconds of meeting someone, pretty much nail their behavioral style, which affects how I interact with them. And it's simple for someone who is in the people business. Immediately, I can't imagine interacting with the public. I can't imagine even answering a phone for a business if you do not understand these 4 behavioral styles. And I think it's simple, and I'm a simple person. I just give me the basics. And so I will be forever grateful. I don't think it was you that taught me the first time. There was another company that actually was kind of making the rounds, and then when you started doing it, of course, I've used your services many times for the people that God has trusted me to lead. And I would say to anyone leading a church group, a youth group, a business group, a sales team, if your people cannot identify 4 personalities in 15 seconds, then you got a problem. And what you do is invaluable. So let's talk about this DISC model.
Absolutely. I would love to. This is a passion of mine and has been for 20 years in DISC and how that works and how it builds you. So real quickly, and I know if you are driving while you're listening to this, you're just going to have to do this later and listen to it over again. But if you're not, if you're in the passenger seat or you're watching it on the video, then I would love for you to get a piece of paper and just real easy for me, draw a big plus sign right on the middle of that paper so that we can kind of walk through this DISC system. At the very top of that plus sign, I would like you to write the word active. And then at the bottom of that plus sign, the word thoughtful. And then to the left, the word questioning. And then to the right, the word accepting. And we're going to do a little trick here, a little magic trick that I like to do when I'm teaching DISC. And we're going to figure out what your personality style is. If you see yourself as an active person, and an active person is somebody who acts first and thinks later. They're the one that Walmart puts all the weird stuff at the checkout lane that doesn't belong at the checkout lane, like bottle openers and Q-tips and stuff that you would not go into Walmart and go, that's where they're going to keep it. They put that there for the active people because they just grab stuff and they buy on an impulse. The thoughtful person, they're the one that goes to Walmart with a list. They know exactly what they want and which aisle it's in. And they're going to go and be in and out in the right amount of time because they're only getting what's on that list. Those are the extremes, of course, and you might find yourself anywhere on that vertical line that connects active to thoughtful. I want you to draw a little dot where you think you are, either really active, really thoughtful, or somewhere in the middle. And then we go left and right. If you are the questioning person, tend to be skeptical. You're very logic and fact driven. You trust slowly. Not that you won't trust, but you trust slowly. You tend to think, what's up? What are you trying to get from me first? And on the other side, that's the accepting. You're just, okay, I trust you. Sure, no problem. You want to do that? Sounds like fun. Let's go with it. So you're very open and emotional and people driven. So to the left is logic, to the right is people. So again, drop a little dot somewhere on that horizontal line, either far left, far right, or somewhere in the middle. Now you've got two dots. The next step is to marry those two dots together. You're going to find one of the quadrants, top left, top right, bottom left, to put your final dot. It's the one where your horizontal and your vertical would kind of intersect if you graphed it out. That is your dot on the disc circle. So what does that mean? Well, the top left quadrant, write a D. The D stands for the dominant style. I call this the general style, or for those of you in the Midwest, maybe a little older, the Bobby Knight style. You are the one that just takes charge, demands. When you walk in the room, whether it's your gig or not, everybody thinks you have all of the answers. That's my dominant style. I'm just gonna be perfectly honest with you. I remember one time we were at a group event at a St. Louis Cardinals game that I was entirely an attendee, didn't have anything to do with. And 5 people walked up to me in the course of the first hour and asked me when it was going to start. Why were we sitting here? Where are we supposed to wait? I'm like, I don't have any idea. But there's something about that D personality that makes people think you are in charge. I can go into Kroger with khaki shorts and a tank top, and somebody will ask me if there's any ground pork in the back. I don't know. It's like I got something on my forehead. Then the next quadrant over is the I style. That we call that the inspirational style. I call this the cheerleader style. That they are enthusiastic, they are exciting, they like a party. One of the biggest misconceptions of the I style is that they always have to be the center of attention. That's not true. Somebody, though, needs to be the center of attention. They don't care if they're the center of the party as long as there's a party. That's the most important part of the I. Down in the next quadrant down below the I is the S style. That's what we call the steady one. It's my nursing style. It's empathetic. It's caregiving. It's very relational, loyal, strong team player. They are ones that they will be there forever. They'll never rock the boat. That's sometimes the problem, because they won't rock the boat. You don't know when they're upset. You don't know when the D has been too direct or too abrupt with them and hurt their feelings until it's too late, until that forever becomes the one day after, and they're like, I'm out, and they just kind of slowly go away, and you never know why. The C, which is the last quadrant, the lower left, that is the conscientious style. I call that my accountant. This is your dots your I's, cross your T's, your analytic. They have a reason for everything that they do because they have studied it, they have factored it, they've done the equations, and even if they're not math aptitude, they still have some system of structure and reasoning behind what they do. So those are the extreme examples of the 4 styles. You get to what someone's primary style is through the simple questions of, are they active or are they thoughtful? Are they questioning? Are they accepting? And if you do that in that first 30 seconds of meeting to somebody, you know how to interact with each one. For example, your D's who are so direct and so fast-paced and so moving, you need to go in with bullet points and end result, and you need to close the sale quickly because they don't have time for you. They're just ready to move into the next thing. You need to go in with the I person with energy and excitement, and it's why is it going to be fun for them? What are they going to get out of it? You could be selling an air conditioning unit. And if you're selling it to the D, you're telling them, this is what it costs, this is gonna be your savings, and your old one's shot, let's just go. You go into the I, you gotta paint the picture of a cool air blowing out of the wind, and all their friends are gonna wanna hang out in their air-conditioned home. I mean, you glamorize that air conditioning unit. Then the S's, they wanna know what that decision's gonna do for the people in their life. So you're going to sell them their air conditioning unit because it's going to make their family so comfortable and their little kids will sleep better. And just being able to rely on nice, steady cooling all the time, that's what they want, because every decision they make is not about them. It's about the people in their circle and in the world that they have. And then the C's, on the other end, you're going to go in there with the manual for the air conditioning unit, all of the data, how they get their rebates. You better have access to all of the answers because you're going to get all of the questions. So your D's and I's are going to close very quickly because they're action oriented, and your S's and C's, you have to structure the sale. You have to give them time to process, and you have to give them a deadline to make the decision, because they will stretch out the analysis or the wavering of how is this going to affect the other people in my life until the cows come home. So you really got to be able to structure that. That is the power of DISC. Whether you're using it to direct yourself, whether you're using it to relate to family and close friends, or whether you're using it to sell a product to a customer, being able to break down their styles and adapt to theirs. Of course, the most important part is you have to know what your own style is. If you don't know what you are, you don't know where your starting point is, because you're going to need to adjust from yours to theirs.
No, that's exactly right. Amen, amen, amen. You know, knowing this made me a better parent. I can't even imagine the kind of parent I would have been, because I'm a very strong D, have no C whatsoever. Like I don't want no details. I just want it done, and I'm hiring you, and you're supposed to be smart, so you get it done, and I'll just tell you what to do. And so if I had not had this training, it scares me to think what I would have done to my children. So I'm going to tell a funny story, because this is a perfect example of why everybody out there needs the DISC. I don't care if you're a grandparent, you've never run a business in your life, and you live behind your computer. You still have relationships with people. And so my children were probably 9 and 11, somewhere in that range. And my grandma, their mama granny, was in her 90s, and she was at that stage where people just give their stuff away at Christmas, and they call it gifts. And the gift has no bearing on the age of the child. And so they got used to early that Mama Granny would give them bizarre things from her house that they had no idea why she was giving them. And one particular Christmas, Kirby, she actually went to Walmart. She got an age-appropriate gift for those children. And so when we came home, they were sitting in my office. Now, you've got to understand, my daughter is an artist. Okay, she's very creative. Okay. My son is a pediatric neurologist. Okay. So that little C in that bottom left quadrant, that would be him. Okay. And I said, okay, guys, we're going to write Mama Granny a thank you note, because she did so good this year. She got you a gift that's age appropriate. So I'm a D. So I just gave him the card and said, go at it. Katie, she takes it and she goes, done. I mean, like 2 seconds, she's done. Neil is still looking at the card, and he goes, are you already done? And she goes, yeah. He goes, let me read it. So he reads it, and he looks at me. True story, Kirby. He goes, Mom, Katie cannot send this thank you card. I said, why not? Because it has 1 sentence paragraphs. All right. That is the perfect example of why you need this information, because otherwise I would have agreed with Katie. It's like, that don't matter. But to my son, it mattered.
It mattered. And that's a beautiful word. It matters. That's a beautiful phrase. It matters. It doesn't matter to you, but it matters to them.
I know early on you taught me to say, when I met people, to say, tell me about yourself. It's a simple sentence. The answer tells you everything you need to know. And if you can't define which style they are from the answer, it don't matter, because it's somewhere in the middle of that quadrant. Okay, right now, everybody who's listening is going, I need this test. I need to know how to read the test. I need to know what I am, and I need to know how to interact with the other people, because it's one thing to know what you are. It's a whole nother thing to know, like when I'm a D and I'm working with an S, I have to completely change. They don't change to meet me. I have to change to meet them. And I think you can't say that loud enough, Kirby, because there's a lot of people think, well, that person's just going to have to meet me. They ain't going to meet you. So tell us how to work with you, where to find you, what to do.
Absolutely. The easiest thing to do is to go to my website, which is www.successexpresscoaching.com. And we'll put that up on the screen, but it's successexpresscoaching.com. And you can either just simply contact me and ask these questions, and I'll send you the right links. I don't mind going a little extra on it. or you can purchase your assessments right off that website. When you go into the website and you purchase an assessment, you can use the promo code LT2022 for a 10% discount off any assessment available. And that's what's beautiful about the products that are available today. When we started working together, quite a while ago, I don't want to say a long time ago because that dates both of us, a while ago, we were in the age of the Disc Classic 2.0, and it was a very small generic test applied across everything you were doing. Now we have gotten so much more farther along in the technology. There are assessments for general workplace. There's assessments for leadership. There's for productive conflict. There's one for agile EQ. There's management. There's sales. So whatever your focus is on, we can get your DISC assessment and some additional goals and roles on how your DISC applies towards that part of your life. And it's, the productive conflict. Husbands and wives both need to take this one because we can do a comparison report and share how you handle conflict from each point of personality and where your areas are mesh and conflict are going to happen. It's a fabulous report. Love that one. Agile EQ is my absolute favorite because in today's world, coming through COVID, if you can't pivot quickly, then you've got to figure out how to build that skill. And in emotional intelligence and agility of the brain are things that can be learned and practiced and developed. And these tools help you do that. So there is a lot out there.
It has come a long way, baby.
It has. It has. And then you can actually have me coach you for 1 hour or more afterwards. We can enter into a coaching agreement that is simple. Hey, let's just review your assessment and call it good. Or we can set a much farther agreement down the road, but we can talk about that.
Well, and just to reiterate how valuable this is, I began to work my business in another country, in a country I didn't even speak the language. And one of the first thing I did with my leaders, once I started developing leaders, was we all contacted you. And it was amazing. Even though we did not share the same language, they understood it. They got it right away. It was just like, wow. And that's how important it was to me. If I was going to build an entire nation of leaders, then we started here. This was starting point number one. And Kirby, I've been saying to my audience, I'm going to offer a masterclass probably this fall for people where I work with them a little bit more in a private setting and for more of a smaller group of people. And I'm thinking you and I need to team up and because I need this kind of information because this is the beginning. Anything else you would like to share with my audience today before we sign off here today?
Yeah, I'll just throw a bonus lesson in there. One little last point, because this one strictly comes from my own stupidity, what I learned by doing it wrong. Get a coach or a mentor or someone that you can lean into. The importance of being able to say, yes, I'm starting my own business, but that doesn't mean I know everything I need to know. And have someone you can have that conversation, whether it's a professional business coach like myself, whether it's a mentor in an organization, whether you're part of an association, have someone that you are going to with, I'm struggling with burnout. I'm struggling with time management. I'm struggling with my boundaries with my family. And walking through, taking some of the principles that are on this podcast, but need to be, like you said, it's not a 2-minute conversation. It's an hour-long conversation and skill to develop. And if I had been smart enough, wise enough at 28 when I left teaching to get into a formal relationship with a mentor or a coach, I would have grown so much faster, so much farther along, saved a lot of money in the long run because I would have learned from teaching or being taught rather than experience. That MBA that I don't own, that I have all the skills for, cost me a lot of money. But, so that'd be a bonus skill. Find someone to mentor or coach you formally, informally, systematically, or hired.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Kirby, we know how to reach you. SuccessExpressCoaching.com.
Yes.
Any other social media platforms or anything that they should be aware of?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, of course, Success Express on Facebook, and that one kind of feeds all of my businesses. And I am on LinkedIn as well. You can find me at Kirby Kirkpatrick on LinkedIn. If you want to add me to your network, that's perfectly great as well.
Okay. Well, I can't begin to thank you enough for this time. Those 168 hours that God gifted us this week, you gave us an hour free of charge. And we thank you so very, very much. I have no doubt we have an audience of people right now who are like blown away. Again, they're going to listen over and over. And of course, your homework is to go over to successexpresscoaching.com and seriously consider, taking the test, being a part of this, and learning more about yourself, and then starting there. So, Kirby, thank you so very, very much. And everybody, if this is your first time, tell us just your first time on the podcast. Also, tell us what city and state you're from. Remember to like, comment, and share. And also check out our sponsor at adrenallogic.com. And Kirby, you might not know this about my podcast, but I have like a huge crush on somebody. And the only way I know to let this man know that he is my soulmate is I started a podcast. Okay, that's not really the true story, but that's kind of the story I'm telling right now. And so I know that if I give him enough shout outs, somebody somewhere is going to go, this chick really thinks she's your soulmate because she thinks just like you. So, hey, Mike Rowe, don't you like this guy? He's really kind of cool. I'm telling you, Mike, I know really cool people. And so that's why you need to know me.
There you go.
All righty. I believe it was number something another that we talked about networking. Okay, this is my network.
There you go. It's your network.
Your network. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being part of Common Sense Choices. Truly, you guys, we are, what did I say? Episode 15, 16, somewhere in there. It couldn't have happened without each and every one of you and great people like Kirby Kirkpatrick who joined us here today. Thank you so much. And can't wait till next week when we wrap up this series on what does it truly take to run a successful business from home. Bye, everybody.